the kingdom born from the sea of stars in the ancient tides of the northern Bornean seas. Long before the rise of kingdoms and courts, the world was ruled by spirits older than memory. The moon poured silver light upon the waves, and in that shining reflection lived the stories of Brunei, a realm destined to rise from mist, myth, and the will of the heavens. Legends whispered of a celestial prophecy. A ruler would descend not from land nor sea, but from the very crossroads of both, born of starlight, guided by the tide, chosen to calm the chaos that brewed between the spirit realms. This prophecy, sung by wind, guarded by sea dragons, and feared by shadow spirits, would soon come true. For the heavens had already turned their gaze upon a single child, a prince whose arrival would alter the fate of Brunei for centuries to come. And thus begins the tale of Awang Sari Alam, the celestial prince of Brunei. Chapter 1. The Fall of the Sky. Pearl the night, the prophecy awakened. The sky over northern Borneo blazed brighter than 1,000 torches. Villagers along the distant coast witnessed a radiant star streak across the heavens, trailing shimmering gold like a celestial river. Children clung to their mothers, fishermen knelt upon their boats, and shamans trembled as the constellations shifted into unfamiliar shapes. For among the stars, a single jewel, the sky pearl heart of the celestial dragon, had been torn from its rightful place. It spiraled downward in a dazzling arc, breaking through clouds with thunder that rolled across the world. The seas heaved, waves rising like walls of silver, forests bent under the pressure of divine force. Even the most ancient spirits stirred, sensing the arrival of something that would disrupt the delicate balance between heaven, land, and ocean. Deep beneath the waves, in the luminous palace of the sea monarch Raja Lot, the waters quaked, coral lanterns shattered, schools of silverfish scattered. The monarch himself, crowned in spiraled shells and armored in scales forged from deep-sea pressure, gazed upward with narrowed eyes. "The sky pearl has fallen," Raja Lot murmured, voice echoing like 1,000 tides, "and with it comes the child." Meanwhile, far above the ocean, on a lonely beach surrounded by black cliffs and whispering mangrove roots, the fallen star cracked open like an egg of light. Within it lay a newborn boy. He did not cry, he did not tremble. Instead, his eyes opened, glowing faint blue, like dawn reflecting upon water. The island fishermen who discovered him recoiled in fear. "A spirit child," one whispered. "A blessing," said another. "A curse," warned a third. But when the infant reached out with tiny hands, the waves calmed, the storm clouds parted. A warm breeze flowed across the shore like a gentle greeting. The sea itself seemed to cradle the child. Awed, the fishermen lifted him with reverence. "We shall bring him to Awang Silam, elder of the coastal tribes," they decided, "for only he understands the signs of the heavens." The elder welcomed the child with solemn acceptance. Beneath the moon, he raised the glowing infant before his people and declared, "He is not born of woman, nor formed by mortal hands. He comes from the sky, delivered by the sea. This boy is Awang Sari Alam, the one foretold to unite the scattered clans of Brunei." Yet not all welcomed the prophecy. High in the shadowed mountains of inland Borneo, a rival spirit stirred. Dendam Awan, the cloud-born sorcerer, banished long ago for attempting to bend the sky spirits to his will. Upon seeing the falling star, his withered lips curled into a snarl. "So," he hissed, "the heavens dare to send a new heir, a child touched by both sky and sea. I will not allow him to grow. He summoned the storm crows, creatures made of lightning and twisted winds. Find the child, he commanded. Erase him before prophecy binds my fate. But by the time the storm crows reached the coast, the boy was already hidden deep within Awang Silam's sacred longhouse, protected by charms woven from moon herbs and coral dust. Years passed. Awang Sarialam grew into a child with the strength of tides and the calm of starlight. He learned to speak with the sea breeze, to sense storms before clouds formed, and to soothe wounded animals with a mere touch. The villagers adored him, the shamans feared him, the spirits watched him. Yet, with every passing moon, the power within him surged, too immense to remain concealed forever. And far away, in the dark caverns of Mount Jergasi, the sorcerer Dendam Iwan sharpened his hatred like a blade. The time is near, he whispered. The celestial child must fall. Thus the stage was set. A boy born of prophecy, a kingdom not yet united, and a shadowed threat rising from the peaks, all leading toward a destiny written in starlight. Chapter 2: The Whispering Tides and the Trials of Bandar. The early morning sun stretched across the calm waters of Brunei Bay, illuminating the stilted houses of Bandar with golden light. Yet beneath the surface of the tranquil waves there was a restless whisper, as if the sea itself carried secrets. The elders of the city spoke of omens, waves that rose without wind, tides that sang in haunting tones, and strange lights flickering across the horizon after sunset. Prince Almaran stood at the edge of the pier, gazing out over the waters. His heart, still buoyed by the pride of his first successful journey in Chapter 1, was now heavy with unease. The shard of the sunstone, which had guided him through the first trials, pulsed faintly in his hand, as though warning of challenges yet to come. "The sea has voices," he murmured, recalling the tales whispered by Bandar's oldest fishermen, "and it speaks of a trial that will test not only my courage, but the spirit of our city." Sultana Ariana, Almaran's aunt and trusted advisor, approached silently. Her gaze swept over the horizon, sharp and knowing. "The tides do not lie," she said. "Dark forces stir beyond the reefs, seeking to claim Bandar's wealth and its heart. You must learn the secrets of the whispering tides, Prince, or the city will face ruin." Almaran turned to her, gripping the sunstone tightly. "Then I will face them. Whatever the sea conceals, I will uncover it." The arrival of the tide whisperers. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of crimson and violet, a strange fleet appeared. They were small vessels, unlike any known to Bandar's sailors. Each was cloaked in mist, and aboard them moved figures draped in shimmering robes, their faces obscured by hoods. The elders called them the Tide Whisperers, guardians of Brunei's hidden currents and long-forgotten maritime paths. Legends claimed that those who listened to the Whisperers would gain knowledge of the sea's secret passages, but only after passing tests of wisdom, bravery, and loyalty. Almaran, accompanied by a handful of trusted companions, Lena, the skilled navigator, Darren, the warrior of Bandar, and Selim, the wise scholar, boarded a small craft to meet the Tide Whisperers. As their boat drew closer, the mist seemed alive, swirling in patterns that mirrored the constellations above. A figure stepped forward, lifting a hand to silence the lapping waves. "Prince of Bandar," the Tide Whisperer said, voice echoing like the rhythm of tides. "The Sunstone has chosen you, but choice alone does not make one worthy. To claim mastery over the tides, you must prove your courage, discernment, and heart. Almaran nodded, his jaw set. I accept your trial. Speak it, and I shall face it. The trial of the hidden currents, the Whisperer raised a staff carved from driftwood and coral. The waters around them shimmered, then parted to reveal a network of treacherous currents, twisting like serpents beneath the surface. Navigate these waters, the Tide Whisperer instructed. One misstep will be your undoing, and the city you protect will feel the cost of failure. Almaran steered carefully, his hands firm on the tiller. Lena guided him with expert knowledge of the stars, while Darren scanned the waters for danger. Selim whispered ancient incantations, taught by the elders, to calm unseen currents. The currents shifted, forming sudden whirlpools and jagged waves that threatened to capsize their vessel. Shadows beneath the surface moved, glimmers of unseen creatures, watching, testing, and waiting. Yet Almaran's resolve did not waver. He followed the rhythm of the sunstone, trusting the pulse that connected him to the city, the sea, and its hidden guardians. Hours passed in tense silence. Each successful turn of the boat and every careful navigation was a test of patience and instinct. Finally, they emerged from the last twisting current into calm waters that shimmered with moonlight. The Tide Whisperer's fleet appeared once more, forming a protective circle around them. You have endured, the leader said. The tides speak your name, Prince of Bandar. You have proven that your courage is steadfast, your wisdom true, and your heart unwavering. The Sunstone's gift will guide you through the shadows to come. A foreboding message. As the prince and his companions returned to Bandar, the whisper of the sea grew louder. Strange shapes moved beneath the waves, sometimes rising to the surface, only to vanish, leaving ripples that carried messages in the language of currents. Selim interpreted the signs with worry. They speak of a storm, Selim said. Not of wind and rain, but of shadow forces from beyond our reefs, seeking to claim Bandar's treasures and the Sunstone itself. The trial is not over. It has only begun. Almaran's eyes darkened with determination. Then we will meet the storm together. Bandar will not fall, and I will stand with the tide as its guardian. The people of Bandar, sensing the prince's resolve, prepared themselves for the challenges ahead. From repairing fortifications along the coast to training young sailors in the art of sea combat, the city became a living bastion of courage and unity. The whispering night that night, as the moon reflected on the calm waters, Almaran walked along the pier alone. The sunstone glowed softly, illuminating the ripples that carried the sea's whispers. A figure approached from the shadows, a messenger from the eastern reefs, cloaked in silver scales and bearing a warning. The Eastern Marauders gather. They have heard of the Sunstone's power and will not rest until it is theirs. Temptation, deceit, and the strength of numbers will be their tools. Bandar must be ready, or it will be swept away like driftwood on the tide. Almaran clenched his fists. Then we will meet them head-on. Bandar will stand, and the Sunstone will remain in the hands of those who protect it. As he gazed at the horizon, the water shimmered with strange lights, and the whispering tides grew louder, as if affirming his words. The trials were far from over, but Almaran felt the strength of Bandar's people, the guidance of the Tide Whisperers, and the pulse of the Sunstone within him. The city slept beneath a sky full of stars, yet in every ripple, in every wave, the promise of destiny whispered. Bandar would endure, and the prince, chosen by the Sunstone, would rise to meet the storm. Chapter 3: the storm of the Eastern Marauders and the hidden fortress. The sky over Bandar darkened as the first ominous clouds rolled in from the eastern reefs. The whispering tides had grown louder, carrying a warning through the waters and into the hearts of those who watched from the shore. Prince Almaran stood atop the highest cliff, the sunstone in his hand glowing softly, its light reflecting the approaching storm. "Almaran," Lena said, pointing to the horizon. "They are coming. The Eastern Marauders, dozens of ships, fast, silent, and armed to strike. They will descend upon Bandar before dawn." Almaran's jaw tightened. "Then we must strike first. We cannot wait for them to choose the battlefield. Gather the defenders. Maya's allies from the hidden cove are on their way. They will flank the Marauders and give us an advantage." Darren and Salim nodded, rallying the city's warriors and scouts. Young sailors manned the coastal defenses, while the city's archers prepared to rain fire upon the enemy. Yet Almaran knew that brute strength alone would not secure victory. The Marauders were cunning, their tactics unpredictable, and the Sunstone's guidance would be essential. The first clash. As the first wave of Marauder ships approached, the defenders of Bandar unleashed a flurry of arrows and firepods. Flames licked the water, illuminating the shadows of the enemy vessels. Yet the Marauders pressed forward, their numbers overwhelming and their maneuvers swift. Almaran raised the sunstone high. Its golden light pulsed like a heartbeat, illuminating secret currents beneath the waves' hidden passages that allowed the defenders to flank the enemy. Lena skillfully guided the city's small ships through these currents, cutting off the Marauders' retreat and striking from unexpected angles. Despite their success, the battle grew fierce. Marauders leapt onto the shore, clashing with Bandar's warriors. Darren swung his blade with precision, protecting the city's gates, while Salim used ancient chants to calm the waters and shield their allies. Almaran moved among them, a beacon of hope and courage, guiding the tide of battle as the Sunstone's light pulsed stronger with each act of bravery. The hidden fortress revealed amid the chaos. The Sunstone pulsed with sudden intensity. Almaran turned, following its glow across the waves. There, partially hidden by cliffs and mist, lay the hidden fortress, an ancient stronghold said to guard treasures and knowledge long lost to time. "The Sunstone is guiding us there," Almaran realized. "If we can reach the fortress, we may turn the tide of battle and uncover secrets the Marauders do not know." With Lena's guidance, the defenders navigated their way through narrow channels, avoiding the Marauders' flanking attacks. Maya's warriors, from the hidden cove, struck suddenly from the rear, their swift canoes causing confusion and panic among the enemy ranks. The Marauders' formations faltered, giving Bandar's forces the opportunity to push forward toward the hidden fortress. The trial within the fortress. Entering the fortress, Almaran and his companions discovered vast halls adorned with carvings of ancient maritime legends. Symbols of waves, tides, and celestial guardians covered every wall. In the central chamber rested a golden helm said to grant wisdom in battle, and a map of hidden reefs and channels that could protect Bandar from any future attack. Yet, as they approached, a shadow emerged, guardian spirit of the fortress, appearing as a massive serpent coiled around the treasure. Its eyes glowed like molten gold. "Only those worthy may claim the knowledge of the hidden fortress," it hissed. "Courage alone is not enough. The heart must be pure, the mind clear, and loyalty unwavering." Almaran stepped forward, holding the sunstone high. "I seek only to protect Bandar, my people, and the harmony of the sea. I do not seek power for myself, only the wisdom to defend our home." The serpent watched silently for a long moment, then slowly uncoiled and retreated. The path to the helm and the map was clear, and the sunstone glowed brighter than ever, acknowledging Almaran's worthiness. The turning of the battle, armed with the helm and the map, Almaran returned to the shore, where Bandar's defenders were still engaged in fierce combat. Using the map, he guided the city's ships through secret channels, surprising the marauders with coordinated strikes. The helm enhanced his perception, allowing him to anticipate enemy maneuvers and direct his allies with unparalleled precision. The tide of battle shifted. Marauder ships were trapped among hidden rocks, ambushed from all sides by Bandar's warriors and Maya's hidden cove allies. Flames and lightning reflected off the water, a spectacle of strategy, courage, and magical guidance. Finally, after hours of struggle, the marauders, battered and disoriented, retreated. Bandar's defenders cheered, though their relief was tempered by the knowledge that other trials awaited. A warning on the tide. As the city celebrated its victory, Selim studied the whispering currents once more. "The marauders are but the first shadow," he warned. "There are forces gathering beyond the horizon, drawn by the sunstone's light. Bandar must be vigilant, for the trials are not yet over." Almaran held the sunstone tightly, feeling the pulse of the tides beneath his feet. "Then we remain ready," he said. "Bandar has survived storms before, and we will survive those yet to come. The hidden fortress and its wisdom will guide us, and our unity will be our strength." The moon rose over Bandar, casting silvery light across the calm waters. The whispers of the tide were softer now, carrying messages of caution and promise. Prince Almaran stood at the pier, gazing at the horizon, knowing that greater challenges lay ahead, but confident that Bandar would endure, guided by courage, wisdom, and the power of the Sunstone. Chapter 4: The Sea Serpent of the Eastern Reefs and the Guardian's Challenge. The victory over the Eastern Marauders brought only a brief respite to Bandar. As dawn broke over the calm waters, the sunstone pulsed faintly in Prince Almaran's hand, its light dim but insistent. The tides whispered warnings of a greater threat, lurking beyond the reefs, a creature of legend that had long been said to guard the eastern waters. "The sea serpent," Selim whispered, consulting his scrolls. "A beast older than any mariner's tale, coiled beneath the reefs. It awakens only when the balance of these waters is threatened. If it rises, Bandar will face destruction, unlike any battle we have fought." Almaran's brow furrowed. "Then we must meet it, not with fear, but with knowledge and courage. The Sunstone has guided us this far, it will guide us still." Lena prepared the city's swiftest vessels, while Darren trained the warriors for maritime combat. Maya's allies from the hidden cove volunteered to scout the reefs, their small canoes skimming over waves with unparalleled skill. The air was thick with anticipation, for the sea serpent was more than a test of strength, it was a trial of heart, unity, and wisdom. The approach to the reefs. By midday, Almaran and his companions sailed toward the eastern reefs. The waters shimmered unnaturally, reflecting streaks of silver and green, and the waves seemed to whisper his name. Every ripple hinted at hidden channels, jagged rocks, and the immense power of the creature beneath. Lena leaned over the bow, reading the currents. The serpent's coils are deep, but the sunstone shows a path. We must stay within its light to avoid being crushed among the reefs. The first sign of the serpent came as a shadow. Beneath the water a massive, sinuous shape that moved with terrifying grace. The crew fell silent, their breaths caught in awe and fear. Then, with a sudden surge, the creature rose from the depths. Its scales glimmered like moonlit steel, eyes burning with intelligence and fury. And its roar shook the waves into white foam. Darren raised his sword. "Stand your ground. We fight not for conquest, but to protect Bandar." Almaran held the sunstone aloft. Its golden light pierced the serpent's gaze, calming the waters and revealing patterns in the currents that could guide them safely through the beast's coils. The guardians challenged the sea serpent, circled the vessels, testing the bravery of those aboard. Selim recited incantations to communicate with the guardian, using the knowledge inscribed in the hidden fortress. The creature paused, its massive head rising from the waves, and a deep, resonant voice echoed in their minds. "Prince of Bandar, you have faced men and tides alike, yet courage alone does not grant passage. Only wisdom, respect for the sea, and purity of heart may survive the trial." Almaran stepped forward. "We seek only to protect our city and maintain balance in the waters. We do not wish to harm you, Guardian, nor to claim what does not belong to us." The serpent's eyes narrowed, then softened slightly. It submerged briefly, sending waves that tested the sailor's skill. "Then prove your worth," it rumbled. "Navigate my lair without fear. Heed the currents and respect the patterns of my realm. Only then will Bandar remain unharmed." Navigating the serpent's lair, the reef's maze-like channels twisted unpredictably. Hidden rocks threatened to pierce the hulls of Bandar's vessels, and sudden whirlpools demanded careful attention. Almaran guided the fleet using the sunstone, its light revealing paths invisible to the naked eye. Lena called out directions. Darren and the warriors defended against sudden water surges, and Selim chanted to calm the angry currents. Maya's scouts flanked the serpent's coils, distracting the guardian without provoking anger. Every moment required focus, unity, and trust in one another. After hours of tense navigation, they reached the heart of the reef. The serpent rose once more, its eyes reflecting approval. "You have respected the waters, honored the balance, and proved your hearts. Bandar is worthy of my protection." With a sweeping gesture of its massive tail, it revealed an underwater cave lined with pearls and coral, containing treasures and knowledge to aid the city in times of future peril. The gift of the guardian from the cave. Almaran retrieved a coral staff imbued with currents of the sea, a talisman of guidance and protection. The sunstone glowed brighter in response, linking the two artifacts. The serpent lowered its head. "Take this staff," it said, "as a symbol of your courage and the city's resilience. Guard it well, for threats will rise again. But Bandar now has a guide of tides, a beacon of wisdom, and a protector in me." Almaran bowed. "We accept your gift with honor. Bandar will flourish with the lessons you have granted, and we will defend it with unity and courage." The serpent dove beneath the waves, leaving ripples that glimmered in the sunlight. The reefs returned to calm, and the whispering tides now spoke in gentle tones, carrying approval and promise. Return to Bandar. As the fleet sailed back to Bandar, the people gathered along the shore, sensing the significance of their prince's journey. Almaran held the sunstone and the coral staff aloft, their lights mingling in a golden glow that reflected upon the waters. Selim turned to him. "The sea serpent has acknowledged your courage and wisdom. The city now has not only its defenders, but a guardian of the tides itself. Darren added, and the Marauders will think twice before challenging Bandar again. Our trials have made us stronger, more united, and wiser in the ways of the sea. Almaran gazed at the horizon, feeling the pulse of the sunstone, the currents of the sea, and the harmony of his people. The trials are far from over, he said softly, but Bandar will endure. Together, with courage, wisdom, and the guidance of our guardians, we will face whatever comes next. The city welcomed its returning heroes, the sunstone and the coral staff illuminating the night, symbols of strength, unity, and the enduring spirit of Bandar. The whispering tides now carried not warnings, but a song of hope, resonating across the bay and into the hearts of all who called the city home. Chapter 5: The Marauders Return and the Festival of the Tides. The days following the encounter with the sea serpent felt peaceful, almost celebratory. The people of Bandar busied themselves, repairing docks, blessing their vessels, and preparing for the long-awaited festival of the Tidezan, ancient celebration honoring the harmony between land and sea. For generations, the festival had symbolized unity, gratitude, and renewal. And now, with the sunstone and the coral staff safeguarded in the palace, spirits were higher than they had been in weeks. Prince Almaran stood upon the balcony overlooking the bay. Lanterns shaped like glowing shells hung from beams, and colorful banners fluttered in the warm coastal breeze. Below him, citizens rehearsed dances mimicking the waves. Children practiced boat racing chants, and vendors set up stalls offering spiced fish, sweet rice cakes, and fragrant coconut wraps. It has been long since the city breathed so freely, Salim remarked, joining him. The serpent's blessing has steadied the tides, and the people trust in your leadership. Almaran smiled, though a sliver of unease lingered in his heart. Peace is precious, he said softly, too precious to take for granted. The Marauders have been silent to silent. Salim nodded gravely. Their silence is rarely a sign of surrender. Echoes of warning that evening, as preparations continued, Maya arrived at the palace gates, her canoe cutting across the waves with unusual speed. She leaped ashore, urgency in her eyes. Almaran hurried to meet her. "Prince, something is wrong," she said, her breath quick and uneven. Scouts saw smoke rising from the northern waters. Not just a fire signals, marauder signals. Darren arrived moments later, armor half-fastened. They're gathering again, and in greater numbers than before. Salim unfurled a tattered map. If they approach from the north, they aim to disrupt the festival. They know the people will be distracted. Almaran clenched the coral staff. Then we cannot allow fear to steal their joy. We will protect Bandarand, keep the festival alive. He summoned the council, and preparations for defense began immediately. Warriors took their positions along the cliffs. Archers stationed themselves atop towers, and naval fleets readied for deployment. Yet, amid all this, the prince ordered that the festival remain scheduled. "For the strength of our city lies not only in arms," he proclaimed, "but in spirit." The festival begins. On the morning of the festival, the sun rose over the South China Sea in hues of rose and gold. Musicians played the soft melody of jelambang drums, echoed like distant tides, and dancers adorned in blue-green silk moved with flowing, wave-like grace. Children launched tiny lantern boats into the water, and fishermen performed ancient chants asking the sea for blessings. At the harbor's center, the grand tide pavilion stood decorated with white pearls and shimmering coral, ready for the sunstone's ceremonial display. Despite the gathering storm of marauder threat, the people of Bandar smiled and celebrated. For the first time in weeks, laughter echoed through the streets. Prince Almaran roamed among them, offering blessings and encouragement. Selim walked by his side, observing the sunstone, which pulsed gently as though enjoying the festivities. "It seems even the sunstone approves," Selim said with a faint grin. Almaran chuckled. "Then let us give it a festival to remember." Dark shapes on the horizon. But by late afternoon, Maya rushed into the pavilion, water dripping from her clothes and worry tightening her features. "They're coming," she whispered. "More ships than we anticipated. The Marauder King himself has joined them." A heavy silence fell. Almaran's eyes hardened, and he addressed his companions. "We hold them at the bay," he said. "Not a single wave of fear must reach our people." Darren saluted. "We will stand with you always." He ordered the warriors into position, while Selim prepared protective incantations using the coral staff and the sunstone's light. Maya and her scouts took to the water, their smaller vessels ready to flank the enemy. Almaran climbed the highest watchtower. From there, he saw dark silhouettes cutting through the waves, the Marauder fleet, sails tattered, yet ominously unified. At their center was a massive warship, carved with the emblem of a serpentine dragon. "The Marauder King, Almaran, murmured, so he shows himself at last." The clash at the bay. The enemy descended with ruthless efficiency. Fire arrows streaked across the sky, and drums thundered from the Marauder ships. But Bandar was ready. "Archers loose," Darren commanded. Arrows sailed through the air, striking enemy masts and rigging. Maya's scouts darted in between enemy vessels, slashing ropes and sabotaging steering paddles. Selim, standing at the shoreline, raised the coral staff high. Its azure glow merged with the sunstone's golden aura, forming a barrier of shimmering light that shielded the harbor from the first wave of flaming missiles. The Marauder King roared from his ship, pointing a jagged trident toward Bandar. "Break their will," he bellowed. His warriors hurled hooks to drag Bandar's ships out of formation, but Almaran leaped onto his vessel, the Sang Satria, and steered directly into the fray. "For Bandar," he shouted. His call rallied the warriors. Steel clashed, arrows whistled, and the sea roared under the weight of battle. The turning of the tide at the height of chaos, the Marauder King unleashed his secret weapon, a colossal iron battering ram mounted on the bow of his flagship. With terrifying force, it plowed through the waves, aiming to smash through Bandar's defensive barrier. Selim struggled, straining under the magical pressure. "The barrier won't hold," he warned. Almaran made a daring decision. "Then we intercept them." He steered the Sang Satria directly toward the behemoth ship. Warriors gasped, but none questioned his resolve. As the vessels neared collision, Almaran raised the sunstone high. Its golden light surged across the water, and the coral staff responded with an azure beam. Together, they struck the ram, shattering its iron core with a sound like thunder. The shockwave sent both ships reeling, and the Marauder King fell to his knees in disbelief. "Our weapon destroyed," Darren cried out triumphantly. "Their advance is broken." Seizing the moment, Maya and her scouts set fire to the enemy's supply ships, forcing them to retreat. The Marauder King, seeing his fleet falter, roared in fury, but he knew the battle was lost. With a final glare toward Almaran, he ordered a full withdrawal. Victory and celebration as the Marauders fled beyond the horizon. The citizens erupted in cheers. Drums beat in triumphant rhythm, lanterns lit the sky, and the festival of the tides resumed with even greater joy. Almaran weary but smiling, returned to the pavilion. The people greeted him with bows, praises, and heartfelt tears. Darren clasped his shoulder. "You led us through the storm once more, my prince," Salim added. "The sunstone and the coral staff recognize your heart. Bandar could ask for no better leader." Almaran looked out at the glowing lantern boats, drifting peacefully on the restored tides. "This victory belongs to all of us, every citizen, every warrior, every ally." The sea breeze carried laughter and music across the night. Bandar was safe once more, but Almaran knew this was only the beginning. For somewhere beyond the shadowed horizon, the Marauder King nursed his rage and plotted his return. Chapter 6: The Whispering Mangroves and the Queen of Roots. The morning after the Festival of the Tides found Brunei still glowing with celebration, though a quiet tension lingered beneath the joy. The Marauders had returned, one sand. It was only a matter of time before their next strike. Crown Prince Sulam awakened before dawn, unable to shake the feeling that the peace was fragile, like a thin shell over storming waters. He stepped out onto the palace balcony, overlooking the Brunei River. Mist clung to the water, drifting like spirits, whispering old stories. As he watched the currents slip toward the distant mangrove coast, he felt something stirring, instinct, a pull, almost a summons. The same river that brought trade and life could also carry warnings, and today it did. A palace guard rushed up the stairs. "Your Highness, reports from the coastal sentries movement in the Whispering Mangroves." Sulam's heart sharpened. Marauders. The guard hesitated. Not exactly. The sentries claimed the trees themselves were moving, breathing, whispering your name. A cold wind brushed Sulam's neck. The mangroves had always been strange, but never hostile. They were older than any dynasty, protectors of both sea and land, linked to myths of an ancient guardian queen. Sulam spoke firmly. "Prepare my escort. I will see this myself." Princess Aravila appeared behind him, her gown of woven seashells still shimmering from the festival. "You won't go alone," she insisted. "If the mangroves are stirring, then the danger is more than physical, it is spiritual." Sulam nodded. Together, with 20 elite guards, they set out downriver in long wooden boats carved with Naga motifs. The jungle thickened as they approached the mangrove delta, roots rising like twisted limbs, branches arching into a cathedral of shadow and light. The air shifted. The trees creaked not with wind, but with voice. "Sulam, Aravila, come." The guards gripped their spears, but the princess raised a calming hand. "This is not an enemy's voice." The boats drifted deeper until the water narrowed into a winding green corridor. Then the currents abruptly stopped. The river fell still as glass. From beneath the roots, bioluminescent algae glowed blue, forming patterns, symbols guiding them forward. A path shaped by nature, yet touched by will. At last, they reached a vast clearing where mangrove roots formed a natural floating platform. There, standing upon it as though grown from the ancient trees themselves, was a woman. Her skin was the deep, rich brown of riverbed clay. Her hair flowed like tangled roots, adorned with petals and pearls. Her eyes carried the weight of centuries warm, yet fierce. Princess Aravila bowed deeply. "Queen Putri Akar, guardian of the roots." The guards gasped. The name was legend. A spirit queen said to have been born when the first mangrove seed struck the earth, protector of the border between sea and land. Sulam stepped forward cautiously. "You summoned us." Putri Akar's voice was like rustling leaves. the tides carried your courage across my domain, Prince Sulam. The festival's joy masked a deeper disturbance. I felt the marauders' hunger stirring again. Sulam's jaw hardened. We knew they would return. We've doubled patrols. No patrol can stop what approaches, the queen interrupted gently. Their new leader wields a relic long believed lost, the tarring lot. Aravilla inhaled sharply. Legends told that the Fang could command waves, summon storms, or drown entire coastlines. If they truly possess it, Brunei is in grave danger. Putri Akar extended her hand. Vines slithered from the mangrove roots, weaving a glowing map over the water's surface. The image showed a dark ship approaching the coast massive, armored with stolen iron. The marauders seek more than riches, the queen said. They seek dominion. I have held them at bay for centuries, but now they carry a weapon strong enough to wound even the forest. Sulam felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his chest. Tell me how to stop them. Putri Akar studied him, her ancient eyes piercing. You must understand, Prince. This is not merely a battle of blades. This is a battle of bonds, of land, sea, and people. What must we do? He asked again. The queen lifted her arm. A single vine unfurled, revealing a root-shaped amulet glowing with golden green light. The Jantang Akar, she said, heart of roots. It is one of the 3 ancient elements that keep this land in balance. Aravilla stepped closer, and the other 2, the Kahaya lot, the light of the sea. Putri Akar answered, which your ancestors once protected, and the 3rd, the spirit of the skies, lost beyond the mountains. Sulam frowned. So the marauders hold the fang of the sea, and you hold courage, the queen said, placing the amulet around his neck, and courage kindles power. When the amulet touched his chest, Sulam felt a surge of strength like roots anchoring him, giving him unshakable stability. But Putri Akar's expression darkened. Be warned. Possessing these forces will alter the battle, but they will not guarantee victory. The marauders will strike soon and harder than ever. The mangroves whispered, echoing her warning. A sudden rumble shook the platform. The water trembled, sending waves crashing into the roots. Above the treetops, a column of black smoke spiraled upward. Arawilla's eyes widened. The coast, they've already begun. Putri Akar spread her arms, and the mangrove roots shifted, forming a bridge back toward the boats. Go, she commanded. Defend your kingdom. And remember, your strength comes not from relics, but from unity. Sulam, gripping the amulet, bowed deeply. We will return, Queen Putri Akar, with allies, with resolve. The queen smiled softly, and when you do, I will stand with you. The river began pulling the boats swiftly back toward the open water, the whispering voices now urging them forward. As they emerged from the mangroves, a new sound met them. War drums, smoke screams carried on the wind. The marauders had struck again, and this time they carried the power of the sea itself. Sulam clenched the amulet, jaw set. The true war for Brunei had begun. Chapter 7. The Siege of Kota Batu and the Fang of the Sea. The storm that had slept above the Bruneian coastline for days finally awakened at dawn. Dark, rolling clouds sank toward the ocean, heavy and low, as though the sky itself wished to witness the battle that was drawing near. Kota, the fortress of stone, pride of the sultanates, silent in the early haze. Its towers watching the horizon with unblinking vigilance. Prince Muda Mahari had not slept. He stood atop the eastern bastion, where the wind tasted of rain and iron. His cloak billowed behind him, soaked by the rising mist, but his gaze remained sharp. Down below, the defenders prepared the city for the unknown. Archers lined the walls. Cannons were cleaned and loaded. War drums were wrapped in oilcloth to keep them dry. The tension spread through the fortress like a tightening rope. For weeks, rumors had whispered of ships gathering far across the Sulu Marauders from forgotten islands, mercenaries hired by bitter rivals, and remnants of the old pirate confederations once crushed by Sultan Bolkiah centuries earlier. A new leader had united them, a shadow known only as the Fang of the Sea. No one knew his face. Some said he wore a mask carved from black coral. Others claimed he was not a man at all, but a creature born of a storm, with teeth carved from shipwrecks and a voice that could command the currents. Yet all agreed on one thing. He was coming for Brunei, and he wanted the kingdom's heart. Kota Batu Mahari closed his eyes for a moment, letting the wind brush across his face, steadying his spirit. The memory of Chapter 6, his journey into the mangroves, and the blessing of the Root Queen still burned within him. The mangrove rootstone pulsed faintly inside the leather pouch at his side, alive with an ancient, silent strength. "Your Highness," said Captain Laksana, bowing slightly as he approached. "The scouts have returned." Mahari opened his eyes, "And they have seen the Fang's fleet." The words cut through the air like a blade. Mahari asked quietly, "How many?" "Too many to count," Laksana replied, voice roughened by disbelief. The sea behind them was black with sails. A deep drumbeat suddenly thundered across the water. Once, twice, then again and again, spreading like shock waves over the waves. Soldiers on the walls froze, staring toward the horizon. The storm clouds began to split, and through the crack of lightning, the enemy fleet emerged. Dozens, no hundreds of ships pushed through the rising surf. Their hulls were carved with monstrous, snarling faces, their masts decorated with bones, their sails dyed crimson and ink black, fluttering like wings of ravens. At the center of the armada, towering above all others, was a monstrous warship shaped like a giant shark skull, the flagship of the Fang of the Sea. A tremor went through the defenders of Kota Batu. Even the waves seemed to recoil. Mahari inhaled deeply, then raised his voice so that all could hear him. "Brunei has stood against storms greater than this. Today we stand not for ourselves alone, but for every soul who sleeps behind these walls. We will not break, and we will not bow." The soldiers roared their approval, pounding their shields, steadying their nerves. The Fang's flagship slowed. A horn blew long, deep, and inhuman. Then the war drums of the Marauders exploded in a furious rhythm, as if the sea itself were beating its own heart. Arrows flew first, hundreds of them, hissing across the water like swarms of insects. They slammed into Kota Batu's walls, cracking stone, punching into wooden parapets, embedding themselves in shields and armor. Bruneian archers retaliated immediately, sending their own volleys soaring downward like storms of silver rain. Cannon fire followed. The Marauders' heavy cannons thundered, shaking the earth beneath Mahari's feet. Fire blossomed against the stone walls, sparks raining down like fiery petals. Mahari gritted his teeth. Return fire. Brunei's cannons roared in answer. Massive iron shot tore through enemy ships, splintering decks, sending crews tumbling into the sea. Smoke filled the air, bodies fell, water churned with blood, and yet the Fang's fleet advanced without slowing. At the center of the chaos, the giant shark skull flagship drifted closer, silent and steady as a predator stalking prey. A voice boomed across the water. "Mahari, son of Brunei, bring me the rootstone, and I shall spare your city. Refuse, and I will drown your kingdom beneath my tide." The voice was deep and echoing, as though spoken through a cavern. Soldiers shivered. Captain Laksana muttered a prayer. Mahari stepped forward onto the battlement, lifting his chin. His answer was unwavering. "Brunei's heart is not yours to claim." A thin ripple of laughter drifted from the shark's coal ship. Then the Fang responded, "Then tonight, Kota Batu shall fall." A massive iron battering ram, mounted on a floating siege raft, surged forward, pushed by dozens of rowers. Behind it sailed dozens of boarding ships filled with armored raiders, brandishing hooked blades, ready to scale the walls. "Here they come," Laksana shouted. Mahari reached into his pouch. The mangrove rootstone pulsed. The world seemed to slow. The wind shifted. The storm clouds above began to swirl, responding to the artifact's ancient presence. Mahari thrust the rootstone skyward. A deep, resonant hum echoed through the airfelt, more than heard. The mangroves surrounding the fortress quivered, as if awakening. Roots broke through the shoreline. Vine-like tendrils surged across the shallow waters. And in moments, the sea itself became a rising forest of twisting, living wood. The first wave of raiders crashed into the roots. Their ships caught and tangled. Some toppled, others capsized. Men screamed as the sea dragged them under, but the Fang's main forces pushed onward. The Shark Skull flagship cut through the growing mangrove barrier, unstoppable. Mahari's breath caught. This enemy was beyond human, beyond reason, and tonight, perhaps beyond defeat. But he would not retreat. "Kota Batu," Mahari shouted, drawing his blade. "Stand with me." The defenders roared. The next wave of enemy ships slammed into the walls. Grappling hooks flew. Raiders climbed. Swords clashed along the parapets. The battle became a storm of steel and fire. In the distance, the Fang's massive silhouette stepped onto the prow of his shiptall, armored in black coral and wearing a mask shaped like a jagged Atlantic sawfish skull. His voice echoed once more. "When I reach your walls, Prince, your crown of roots will burn." Mahari gripped the rootstone, feeling its heartbeat match his own. The siege had begun, and the fate of Brunei balanced on the edge of a storm. Chapter 8: The Mask of the Fang and the Blood Moon Tide night descended upon Brunei with an unsettling stillness. After the brutal siege of Kota Batu, the survivors worked tirelessly to rebuild, yet a deeper unease clung to the air like mist. Word of the Fang of the Setha cursed artifact torn from the Marauders' leader spread across the kingdom. Though now sealed within the royal vault, its presence seemed to whisper through the night, as though it breathed. Princess Dayang Luminu, who had taken the Fang during the final clash, felt its pull more intensely than anyone else. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw visions, fleeting images of a masked figure standing at the edge of a storm-lashed coast, chanting in an unknown tongue. She tried to dismiss the dreams, but they grew sharper, louder, impossible to ignore. Finally, she sought counsel from Guru Mahawangsa, the kingdom's elder sage. "It is the Fang," he warned, running his hand over ancient palm-leaf scrolls. Its former master was not a mere marauder. He was a binder one who could trap spirits of the sea inside objects carved from their own bones. Dayang's eyes widened. "Then whose bone was carved into the Fang?" "The bone of a sea demon," the sage whispered. "A creature born during the blood moon tides. Every century, when the moon bleeds red, the ocean opens. and the demon's spirit seeks a vessel to reclaim its shell. Daong's breath caught, and the fang is that shell. It is incomplete, Guru Mahawangsa replied gravely. The demon needs a mask of face through which it may breathe, and it searches. Daong felt a cold tremor run through her spine. The whisper in the dark, 3 nights later, under a rising crescent moon. The kingdom's fishermen returned to shore, pale and trembling. They claimed that a giant mask carved from driftwood and coral floated toward their boats, its hollow eye sockets glowing with blue fire. Beneath it, darker shapes writhed, as if something unseen swam beside it. The rumor grew, and fear seeped through the markets and villages. Daong Luminu immediately set out with the royal guard to the coast where the mask had been seen, determined to face whatever threatened her people. At the shoreline, they found broken bits of coral and the mark of something dragged across the sand massive Zivi, leaving deep grooves. Piles of jellyfish and shattered shells lay strewn around the tracks, as though the sea had vomited its dead onto land. One of the guards shuddered. "It was here, princess. A mask the size of a house just, staring at us." "And the fang?" Daong asked. The guard hesitated. It glowed, as if answering. Daong felt the fang's pulse again in her mind, like a heartbeat calling to its missing half. The thing with no face that night, as the moon climbed high, a loud cracking sound echoed from the jungle bordering the shore. Daong and her warriors rushed toward it, torches slicing through the darkness. There, emerging from the mangroves, was the mask. It towered above them, carved from driftwood, coral, and whalebone. Its features grotesquely exaggerated. Its mouth stretched wide, like a silent scream, and its eyes burned with ghostly blue flames. It hovered slightly above the ground, as though held aloft by unseen hands. Behind it, the shadows twisted. Something large moved with it, something unseen but unmistakably alive. A deep voice reverberated through the air, vibrating the very sand beneath their feet. "Return, my fang." Daong stepped forward, holding her ground despite the crushing weight of the voice. "You will not consume my kingdom," she declared. "You will not reclaim the fang." The mask tilted, regarding her. Then, a roar tore through the night as the mask lunged, the demon's awakening. Daong raised her spear, but the force of the mask's movement sent shockwaves that knocked several warriors to the ground. She darted aside, just as the mask struck the sand where she had stood, cracking the beach-like stone. Invisible arms-tangled currents of air and spirit lashed out, grabbing at the guards. Daong shouted for them to fall back. She alone remained in the mask's path, its hollow eyes fixed on her, as though recognizing the one who held the fang. "Give it," the voice whispered, soft but terrifying, like a tide crawling into the lungs. Daong's heartbeat thundered, but she did not waver. "I will bury it deeper than you can ever reach," the mask screamed. Waves rose behind it, massive, towering, illuminated by the rising blood moon. The water turned red as though the sea itself bled. And from the depths, enormous shapes writhed, shadows of the demon's true form, waiting to rise. The mask descended sharply, aiming to swallow Daong whole. She thrust her spear forward just as it came down. A flash of golden blue light exploded from the point of impact, knocking the mask back and revealing, for the first time, the demon's outliner, colossal creature, shaped like an eel and a serpent, its long body draped in seaweed and bone. The mask screamed again, furious and wounded. Daong's spear, enchanted by Guru Mahawangsa, that very morning glowed fiercely. "Your face is not yours to reclaim," she whispered. The mask recoiled. The oath of the blood moon. As the tide surged violently, Guru Mahawangsa appeared at the shoreline carrying a bundle of woven kelp charms. His voice boomed across the battlefield as he chanted a spell older than Brunei's oldest stones. The blood moon tide binds only those who accept its shadow. Reject it, princess. Daong gripped her spear tight. I reject you, she shouted at the mask. Lightning tore through the red sky. The demon roared in agony, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. The mask cracked down the middle, splitting cleanly into two halves. Blue flames shot out, swirling wildly before collapsing like dying stars. The tide fell silent. The unseen body that had carried the mask dissolved back into the sea. The waves returned to normal, the red glow fading into silver as the blood moon dimmed. The mask lay shattered in the sand. Daong collapsed to her knees, breath trembling. Guru Mahawangsa approached and touched her shoulder. It has begun, he whispered. Destroying the mask weakens the demon, but it still seeks the fang. It will rise again. Daong stared at the broken mask, determination blazing in her eyes. Let it come, she whispered. I will face it again. The tide washed the shards gently, as though the sea mourned what had been lost. But the night was not yet done with them. Chapter 9: The Celestial Reef and the 1,000-Year Coral Gate. The storm that followed the Battle of the Blood Moon had raged for 3 nights before finally breaking. When the sea calmed, a strange radiance glimmered across the southern horizon, an aurora-like curtain of shifting blues and golds. Fishermen who ventured too close returned, trembling, speaking of lights beneath the waves and shapes moving like colossal spirits. Sultan Baharuddin, who had barely slept since the battle, stood upon the balcony of Kota Batu as dawn broke. Beside him, Wira and Daong Saraya watched the shimmering horizon with growing unease. That light, Saraya whispered. It resonates with the mask. The one the fang of the sea left behind. Wira nodded grimly. And with the fang itself, the tide is pulling us somewhere, Sultan. Whatever waits beneath that glow, it's calling. The Sultan closed his eyes for a moment, as though reaching for the answer in the sea breeze. Then he straightened. Prepare the royal fleet. We go at dawn. By midday the next day, the flagship Sri Brunei cut across calm waters, followed by 12 warships and 4 smaller scout vessels. As they approached the glowing veil on the horizon, the waves grew unnaturally smooth, almost glass-like. Beneath the hulls, colors danced like liquid sapphire and molten gold. Saraya gripped the railing. It's not light, she breathed. It's energy. An eerie, resonant hum vibrated through the air as the fleet passed into the glowing curtain. The sea suddenly darkened not from storm clouds, but from depth. The water beneath them became clear as crystal, and through it they saw something that made even the seasoned warriors gasp. A titanic coral structure spiraled below them like a labyrinth of living stone. Towers of white, blue, and crimson coral rose hundreds of meters high, forming a submerged fortress stretching farther than the eye could follow. At its heart, a colossal gate, formed from 2 enormous slabs of shimmering pearl, stood closed. The 1,000-Year Coral Gate, Wira whispered. The stories, they weren't myths. According to legend, the Celestial Reef was created by the first sea guardians to imprison something ancient, something powerful enough to drown kingdoms, something the fang of the sea might be trying to release. Sultan Baharuddin gave the order to anchor. Prepare the diving spheres. The diving spheres' bronze orbs, with glass windows and intricate runic carvings, were lowered into the water. powered by enchanted tidal stones. They could withstand the crushing pressure at the reef's depth. Wira, Soraya, and 2 soldiers entered the foremost sphere. The descent was breathtaking. As they dropped into the abyss, glowing fish swirled around them like constellations. Strange serpentine eels slipped between coral towers. At last, the diving sphere settled on a platform of white coral facing the titanic gates. Up close, the coral gate was even more magnificent and terrifying. Each slab was etched with runes that glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The seam between them was barely visible. Soraya ran her fingers along the carvings inside the sphere. These symbols, they match those on the mask of the fang. Wira frowned, meaning the fang was meant to open this. A scraping sound echoed through the water. Then another, not from the gate, from above. Soraya peered upward, her breath caught. Something's coming. A massive shadow drifted between the coral towers, its form twisting like a manta ray forged from smoke and bone. Its eyes glowed sickly green. Then came another, and another. The abyss shades, Wira whispered. Guardians of the gate, or prisoners. The shades swarmed around the sphere, striking it with tendrils of shadow that hissed against the metal like acid. The sphere trembled violently. Up, Wira shouted. Get us back up. The operator frantically pulled the lever, but the shades wrapped around the sphere, dragging it downwards toward the glowing runes of the gate. The sphere cracked slightly. Water trickled in. We're not going to make it, one soldier cried. Soraya closed her eyes, reached for her satchel, and pulled out the mask of the fang. The moment she held it up, the mask ignited with pale blue fire. The shades recoiled instantly. The mask's glow intensified, forming a shield of light around the sphere. The shades screeched and fled into the dark trenches between the coral spires. Wira exhaled shakily. Good thinking, but I don't think they were attacking us. Soraya frowned. What do you mean? They were scared of us getting close to the gate, which means... Wira looked up at the enormous slabs of pearl and coral. The thing sealed behind there is worse than all of them. Soraya's voice dropped to a whisper. And someone wants to wake it. Suddenly, the coral gate pulsed with blinding light. The runes flared. A low rumble shook the deep. The gates began to shift slowly, but unmistakably. Opening Wira's blood turned to ice. No, someone on the surface, someone with the fang is triggering it. A surge of energy blasted outward, sending the sphere tumbling back across the platform. The glow intensified, forming a vortex of swirling currents. A massive silhouette stirred behind the opening gate. Something ancient, something alive. Sultan Bohudin's voice crackled through the communicator tube above Wira. Soraya. The entire reef is shaking. What's happening? Wira steadied himself. Sultan, the gate is opening. A long pause. Then very quietly, get back to the surface. Now. Soraya stared at the emerging shadow. But what if we're already too late? As the sphere ascended, the celestial reef trembled. Coral towers cracked and collapsed. Shades scattered in panic. The glow around the gate erupted into wild spirals. The shadow inside moved again, vast, serpentine, winged. Wira gripped the window frame, jaw clenched, the fang of the sea. Now I understand. It wasn't a person. Soraya finished the thought in a trembling whisper. It's a creature sealed away for 1,000 years, and now awakened. The 1,000-year thing rose toward the surface. And Brunei's greatest battle had only just begun. Chapter 1. Oh, the awakening of the thousand-year serpent. The storm clouds hung low over the celestial reef, swirling in violent circles like a wound in the sky. The waters that had moments earlier glowed with the serene light of the thousand-year coral gate now churned with a rising, unnatural pulse. Addy, still gripping the moon-carved mask, felt the rhythm deep in his bones, steady, slow, and impossibly ancient. "It's not just the gate opening," he whispered to Sari and the emissaries around him. "Something beneath it, something older than any kingdom, is rising." Sari's face hardened. The legends spoke of a guardian serpent bound to the reef since time was born. But if it awakens now, it awakens because someone called it. Addy finished, turning his gaze toward the figure standing atop the coral dais. The marauder warlord, still masked in the fractured metal helm shaped like a shark's maw, raised both hands as crimson tides surged around him. The fang of the sea glowed in his grip, its jagged blade pulsing with a corrupt radiance that poisoned the very light of the reef. Behind him, the blood moon, still hanging unnaturally low from earlier rites, glowed like a burning omen. "You believed the serpent to be a guardian," the warlord thundered, his voice amplified by the rising storm. "But guardians can be turned. The fang is my cure-own kingdom's forgotten reliquant. Tonight, it obeys me." A violent tremor surged through the waters. The coral towers split apart, revealing a massive fissure that descended into an abyss glowing with molten blues and eerie whites. From this abyss, a shadow began to rise, massive, sinuous, shimmering beneath the surface like a mountain made of moonlit scales. The thousand-year serpent. Its emergence shook the entire reef. Waters exploded upward in towering walls. Emissaries stumbled to maintain footing on the rocking coral structures. Ships anchored nearby were tossed like toys. Addy's heart pounded, but he did not step back. The stories he had studied since childhood, the ones whispered by Kota Batu's oldest scholars, echoed within his memory. When the serpent awakens, all tides shall bow to the one who commands its will. The warlord lifted the fang and shouted, "Behold, the tide that will drown Brunei, kneel to your new master." The serpent's enormous head-edged scale, glowing like a shard of moonstone, broke through the water. Its eyes were two vast spirals of blue fire, ancient and calculating. A roar erupted from its throat, deep enough to shake the coral gate itself. The creature was awe-inspiring, terrifying, and magnificent beyond imagination. Sari stepped closer to a die voice, trembling with fear and fury. "We can't fight that. Not with steel." "No," Addy answered, "but perhaps with truth." He lifted the moon-carved mask's the relic, taken from the Queen of Roots, the very mask that unveiled hidden intentions and bound spirits of old. When the shimmering mask caught the blood moon's light, runes etched across its surface ignited. Addy placed the mask upon his face. The world shifted. He no longer saw merely the serpent. He saw its sorrow. He saw its endless centuries chained to the coral gate. He saw the oath it once swore to ancient Brunei long before any king built Kota Batu. And he saw the shackle of corrupted magic binding its will, now a twisted thread of crimson power leading straight to the fang of the sea in the warlord's hand. "It doesn't serve him," Addy murmured. "It's enslaved." Sari looked at him sharply. "Then break the chain." The serpent lunged. Its massive jaws descended toward the reef, tearing coral pillars apart, sending chunks of glowing stone flying. Warriors dove aside as the serpent's roar thundered across the waters. Addy stood firm. "Serpent of the first tides," he called, his voice amplified by the mask's resonance. "You are bound, not by destiny, but by theft." Its head whipped toward him, eyes swirling, studying the small figure who dared speak to it. The warlord snarled, "Silence, boy." He struck the fang into the coral platform. A shockwave of blood-red energy raced toward Adi. Seri leaped forward, throwing up a defensive ward of water magic. But the crimson blast shattered her barrier and sent her flying backward into the arms of the emissaries. Adi, however, remained standing, the mask glowing brighter. He extended a hand toward the serpent. "I see your true heart. I see the oath you once swore, protector, not destroyer." The serpent hesitated. The warlord roared, "Obey me." He thrust the fang again, sending a violent surge of crimson power into the serpent's scales. The creature writhed in agony, waters erupting around it. Adi realized time was slipping away. The mask's runes flared hotter, nearly searing his skin, but he did not falter. He gripped its edges and spoke the ancient invocation he had learned from the Queen of Roots herself. "By moonlight unbroken, by truth unmasked, let the binding be revealed. Let the stolen chain be undone." The mask unleashed a burst of silver light. It struck the serpent, first washing over its massive form, revealing glowing shackles of corrupt magic wound around its heart. Then the light traveled along the shackles, toward the warlord's fang, exposing the weapon for what it truly was, a ceremonial relic never meant to be wielded as a blade, but a conduit for enslavement, corrupted by rituals long forgotten. The serpent roared, this time not in rage, but in awakening clarity. "No," the warlord bellowed, raising the fang to amplify its control. Adi seized the moment. He leaped forward, mask blazing like a newborn star, and slammed his palm against the fang. A massive surge of light and darkness exploded outward. The sound was like 1,000 waves crashing at once. The fang cracked, then shattered. The crimson chains binding the serpent disintegrated into smoke that hissed and vanished into the storm. Silence fell over the reef. Slowly, the serpent lowered its head until it hovered just before a massive, glowing, ancient eyes fixed on him. It studied him as if examining every breath, every intention. Then, in a voice like shifting tides, it spoke not aloud, but within the mind. "Child of Kota Batu, you have freed me." Adi bowed deeply, heart pounding as its words resonated within him. "Will you help us?" he asked. "The marauders threaten our kingdom. Without you, Brunei will fall." For long, agonizing seconds, the serpent did not respond. Then, with a thunderous surge of water, the serpent coiled upward, rising tall enough to pierce the storm clouds. "I will rise with you," it declared, "and together we shall drown the darkness." The battle for Brunei had entered a new era, and the 1,000-year serpent, once chained, now awakened, was ready to fight. Chapter 11: The Serpent King's Oath and the Burning Horizon. The storm that had followed Seri Gumilang and his fleet from the celestial reef slowly died as dawn approached. Yet the sky remained stained in an unsettling shade of ember red, as if the heavens themselves foresaw the coming ruin. The 1,000-year serpent now awakened and fully risen from its ancient slumber cut through the waves beside the fleet, its colossal body shimmering with patterns like glowing runes. The creature's presence distorted the sea, bending the light and the wind around it, as if the world bowed to its existence. At the prow of the flagship, Seri Gumilang stood firm, his cloak snapping in the hot, unnatural wind. In his hand, the mask of the fang pulsed with a deep crimson light, resonating with the serpent's own awakening. Behind him, The warriors of Brunei, exhausted but resolute, waited for his next command. Admiral Dharma approached and bowed. "My prince, scouts report smoke rising from the direction of Kota Batu. The marauder fleet may already be there." Seri Gumilang's gaze hardened. Then the burning horizon was not a prophecy. It was a warning, as if summoned by his words. The 1,000-year serpent rose higher, its head towering over the ships like a living mountain, its eyes vast, golden, ancient, met his. A low rumble rolled through the sky, not quite sound and not quite speech, but a resonance that echoed directly into his mind. "Child of the Dusan, the tide of fate has returned." Seri bowed his head with deep reverence. "Great Serpent King, the marauders threaten my people again. Will you aid us?" The ocean swelled, spiraled, and calmed, as if the entire sea inhaled before the serpent answered. "For 1,000 years I slept, bound by oath to the mask and the reef. Now awakened, I sense the same blood that once disturbed the sacred deep. The marauders carry a relic stolen from my kin." Seri's pulse tightened. "A relic? What relic?" The serpent's eyes dimmed with ancient sorrow. "The Heartscale, torn from my own mother." The words struck like thunder. Admiral Dharma swore under his breath. "If the marauders possess such a thing," Seri said quietly, "that explains their strength, their storms, their unnatural fury." A tremor shook the creature's immense body. "To use the Heartscale is to command a fragment of my bloodline's power. They extend their cruelty beyond mortals. They defile the sea itself." Seri straightened. "Then we end them together." The Serpent King lowered its massive head until it hovered just above the water, level with the prince. "Then hear my oath." The sea darkened. "Until the Heartscale is reclaimed and the desecration erased, I, Sarakalam, eldest of the tidal ancients, fight beside the kingdom of Brunei." A wave of force rippled over the fleet, warm, luminous, invigorating. Every warrior felt their fear lighten, their strength surge. Admiral Dharma exhaled. "With this, we may truly stand a chance." Sari turned. "Prepare the fleet. We sail for Kota Batu at once." The burning horizon. By late afternoon, the sun vanished behind a curtain of smoke. The sea turned copper orange under the haze, glowing like molten metal. The burning horizon was no metaphor. Kota Batu was under siege, its shorelines aflame. The marauder fleet stretched across the bay like a swarm of iron-clad beasts. Their ships were reinforced with blackened coral spikes, some glowing with reddish veins, the unmistakable influence of the stolen Heartscale. Waves recoiled from them, as if even the ocean feared their presence. Seri's fleet held position beyond arrow range. Silence fell. Then came the sound. A deep, thundering note blew across the sea. The marauder war horn. Then another sound answered. A roar so colossal that the sky shuddered. Sarakalam rose from the deep like a tidal mountain, water cascading down its body in enormous sheets. Lightning crackled across the serpent's scales. The sea swirled around it in massive spirals. The marauders froze. Then the shouting began. "Retreat. The Serpent King, the Ancient. That's impossible." A figure strode onto the deck of the marauder flagship, their warlord, armored in obsidian and coral. At the center of his chest, embedded like a grotesque ornament, burned the Heartscale. Even from across the ocean, its reddish glow was unmistakable. He raised a trident, crackling with stolen power. "Brunei," he bellowed. "Did you think a creature of the old world could stop me?" Seri stepped to the edge of his flagship. "You desecrated a sacred being, and for that alone, your fleet will fall." The warlord laughed mad, booming, echoing across the bay. "Come, prince, claim what you think is yours." Sari lifted the mask of the fang. It blazed with radiant red, and all at once the sky cracked open. The tide of war, the battle, ignited instantly. The Bruneian fleet surged forward under Sarakolam's protection. Waves rose like walls, carrying ships forward with impossible speed. Arrows from the marauders curved away, redirected by spiraling wind. Sarakolam struck first. The colossal serpent crashed into the marauders' front line, splintering 3 ships at once. Water exploded upward in massive geysers. With a sweep of its tail, it created a whirlpool so large it swallowed 2 more vessels whole. But the warlord unleashed the Heartscale. A beam of burning crimson light shot from his chest, splitting the sea open and blasting against Sarakolam's flank. The serpent recoiled, bellowing so loudly that clouds scattered. Sari's fists tightened. If the Heartscale can wound even him, this will not be an easy battle. He placed the mask of the fang over his face. Instantly, heat flooded his veins, instant, fierce, overwhelming. The spirit of the Fang protector of the deep awakened within him. The sea obeyed his every breath. He leaped from his ship onto the water itself, each step forming a solid platform of swirling red mist. His warriors gasped. "Prince Sari walks on the sea," Admiral Dharma roared. "Follow him, protect the prince." The warlord pointed his trident. "Face me, Bruneian, I intend to." The waves surged, the horizons burned, and Sari charged toward the marauder flagship like a storm given human shape. Chapter 12: The Heartscale's Fall and the Dawn over Brunei. The storm that had swallowed the world began to break open in violent spirals as the colossal Heartscale serpent rose above the sea. Its obsidian coils eclipsed the moon, and the water around it churned into towering whirlpools. Kota Batu's ruined battlements shook with every movement of the ancient beast. For the first time in 1,000 years, the creature once worshipped as a guardian, but long twisted by greed and corruption, had awakened fully. Prince Almaran stood at the forefront of the shattered seawall, drenched by brine and blood, gripping the Serpent King's fang. Its glow coursed through his arm like molten fire, but the battle had already pushed his body beyond its limits. Behind him, the surviving warriors of Brunei formed a crescent defensive line. Their shields, cracked and battered, still shimmered with the faint protection of the Queen of the Mangrove's last enchantment. "We hold until the end," Almaran commanded, though his voice trembled from exhaustion. Beside him, Lady Salsila raised her staff. The jade gem at the tip flickered weakly, as if breathing its final breaths. "The Heartscale's spirit is fractured," she murmured. "If we cannot mend it, it will tear the sea and sky apart. And if we cannot slay it," said General Laxama, tightening his grip on his blade, "it will devour what remains." The serpent lowered its head, its eyes like burning pits of amber. Its voice, ancient and layered like shifting stone, slithered across the battlefield. "Child of the broken oath, why do you bear my enemy's fang?" Almaran stepped forward, muscles shaking, the fang raised high. "Your pact with our ancestors was sacred. You protected Brunei and Brunei honored you. But centuries of corruption turned you into this scourge." The serpent's breath grew hot, boiling the waves. "I protected your people until your kings forgot the pact. Tribute ceased. Temples crumbled. My spirit starved." "No," Almaran answered. "Your spirit twisted. Tribute is not worship, and worship is not chains. You forgot your purpose." With a furious roar, the Heartscale struck. A shockwave of water blasted through Kota Batu, tearing stone and ripping apart defenses. Warriors were thrown across the courtyard. Some did not rise again. The fang in Maowen's hand flared with unstoppable heat. "Maowen," Salsilla shouted. "The serpent reacts to the fang, its twin. If you strike blindly, you will only feed its rage." Another strike, another thunderous crash. The sea swallowed half the shoreline. Maowen forced himself upright. "Then help me reach its heart." Salsilla nodded. "I will clear the path." The Heartscale lunged again, but the Queen of Roots' enchantment, its last spark, ignited beneath Salsilla's feet. Roots burst through shattered stone, weaving into a towering barrier of mangrove wood. The serpent smashed through it, but the barrier slowed its advance long enough for Maowen and Laksama to sprint forward. They leaped atop the serpent's lower coil as it thrashed violently. "Hold on," Laksama yelled, stabbing his blade into the beast's scales for grip. Maowen crawled along the serpent's spine, the fang glowing brighter with every heartbeat. The closer he came to the creature's skull, the heavier the burden grew, as if the fang itself resisted what it was born for. The sky tore open with lightning as the serpent dove under the water, dragging both men with it. Darkness swallowed them. Maowen's lungs burned. He fought upward, swimming along the serpent's body, refusing to release the fang, even as the sea crushed in around him. Then a light golden and ancient bloomed ahead, the Heartscale serpent's heart. He reached it just as the beast breached the surface again, roaring. Waves exploded. The moon appeared once more, casting silver across the chaos. Maowen raised the fang. The serpent's voice deepened, trembling. "If you strike, you sever what remains of the old pact." "If I falter," Maowen answered, "Brunei falls." He plunged the fang into the glowing heart. A shockwave erupted, light and darkness spiraling outward like twin storms. The serpent shrieked, its body convulsing violently. Scales burst like shards of obsidian. The sea boiled around them. But then something shifted. Instead of dying, the Heartscale began to change. Its twisted black scales softened, turning to shimmering pearl. Its eyes, once filled with hatred, dimmed into clarity. The rage and corruption melted away in waves of glowing mist. The fang in Maowen's hand dissolved into light. The Heartscale lowered its colossal head, bowing for the first time in centuries. The oath is restored. Maowen collapsed, caught by Laksama as the serpent slowly dissolved into a spiral of shimmering energy that sank into the ocean, calming the storm. The sea, once raging, fell still and glassy, reflecting the first colors of dawn. Salsilla and the surviving warriors gathered silently as the sun rose over Brunei. "We have endured," the mage whispered. "We have," Maowen said weakly, "because we stood as one." A warm breeze swept over Kota Batu. The mangroves rustled, as if whispering blessings. The ruins glowed softly, touched by the Heartscale's final magic, one last gift to the kingdom it had once sworn to defend. By midday, messages of victory spread across Brunei. Villagers, nobles, sailors, and merchants all poured into the restored courtyards to greet their prince. Flags rose again, bells rang. The Festival of the Dawn was declared a new yearly celebration to honor unity, courage, and the rekindled pact with the sea spirits. That night, beneath lantern-lit skies, Maowen stood on the rebuilt seawall. Laksama approached. "What will you do now, my prince?" "Rebuild, strengthen peace, and make sure we never forget the mistakes that awakened the serpent." Salsilla stepped beside them. "The sea is calm again, but the world is vast. Other spirits stir. Other pacts lie forgotten. Mauen nodded. Then we will remember them all. Brunei will never walk in ignorance again. Behind them, the golden glow of celebration filled. Kota Batu music rose into the night. Children danced with paper serpent symbols, now not of fear, but of protection. And on the horizon, the ocean shimmered as though a great pearl-scaled guardian watched quietly from beneath the waves. Thus ended the age of the serpent, and began the dawn of Brunei.